South Africa, Cape Town, 1974. An 18-year-old girl is sitting across a table from a 48-year-old woman. The woman is composed. Unbothered, almost polite, the girl is shaking. The woman looks at her and says something that will change everything. She says, "I will never give him a divorce. But I don't mind you being around, as long as you don't mind staying in your place." To the woman across the table, "This girl is nothing, a footnote, a side piece, not a threat. She is wrong. Within 3 weeks, that woman will be dead, stabbed 7 times, 4 wounds to the heart, with a pair of scissors, and the girl sitting across that table will be sentenced to death. The youngest woman in South African history to receive that sentence. Her name is Marlene Lehnberg, and this is her story. To understand what Marlene did, you first have to understand how she was raised. She was born on the 15th of October, 1955. Her father was a cold, deeply religious man. No cinema, no socializing, no boys. Affection in that house was not something that was given freely. What Marlene had was a brilliant mind. She was consistently top of her class. But academic excellence did not earn warmth at home, so Marlene began looking for it somewhere else. In February 1972, at just 16 years old, she started her first job, a clerical receptionist at the Red Cross Children's Hospital in Rondebosch, Cape Town. It was there, in the hospital's orthopedic workshop, that she met Christian van der Linde, the chief technician. He was warm. He was experienced. He paid attention to her. He was also 47 years old, 31 years her senior, and he was married to a girl who had never been shown love at home. Christian van der Linde felt like everything, and for 2 years, their secret affair burned quietly behind the walls of that hospital. There was someone else in this story. Her name was Susanna Magdalena van der Linde. Wife, a mother of 3, a woman who had built an entire life with this man. And Christian. He went home to Susanna every night. By 1974, Marlene had had enough. She was 18 now. She wanted Christian to herself. She wanted a life with him. She wanted Susanna gone. In July of that year, she hinted to Christian she was planning to leave Cape Town. He begged her to stay, but staying wasn't the point anymore. So in September, Marlene did something bold. She picked up the phone and called Susanna directly. She told her the truth. She and Christian were in love. They saw each other every night. What did Susanna intend to do about it? Susanna hung up. Marlene called again. This time, she secured a face-to-face meeting. They met in Belleville in early October 1974. Marlene walked into that meeting hoping for a deal. Maybe Susanna would agree to a divorce. Maybe they could come to some arrangement. Instead, Susanna told her she would never give Christian a divorce. Not because of love, because of the children. And then she delivered the blow that broke something inside Marlene. She said she didn't mind Marlene being the other woman, as long as Marlene didn't mind staying in that role. Forever. To Susanna, Marlene was nothing, a side piece. Not a threat. That dismissal was a death sentence. Marlene handed in her resignation at the hospital in October 1974. She told Christian she was leaving Cape Town. She was not leaving. She was planning. She needed someone to do what she couldn't do herself, and she found him through a handwritten letter sent to a small store called Soli's Trading Store in the Cape Flats. The letter was addressed to a man named Martinus Chuhu. He was 23 years old, disabled, an amputee, living on the margins of Cape Town society. The letter was simple. Come to the orthopedic workshop. If you are clever, you can earn good money. Chuhu came. Marlene gave him 1 South African rand and told him to meet her that evening. He came again, and there she made her request. She wanted him to murder a woman for her. Chuhu hesitated. He said he was afraid of the gallows, but Marlene was patient, persistent, persuasive. He agreed. On the 24th of October, Marlene drove Chuhu to Belleville. He was armed with a hammer. But something went wrong. Chuhu arrived at the house, and instead of carrying out the plan, he asked Susanna for money. She gave him a small amount. He left. The attempt had failed. But Marlene was not done. On the 4th of November, 1974, Martinus Chuhu returned to Susanna van der Linde's home on Gladstone Street, Boston Estate, Cape Town. This time, there was no hesitation. He attacked Susanna with a pistol. The blow broke her jaw. Then he picked up a pair of scissors. Susanna van der Linde was stabbed 7 times. 4 of those wounds reached her heart. She was 48 years old. She was a mother of 3. Her daughter, Zelda, was the one who found the body. Here is where this case gets darker. After the murder, Marlene did something that was calculated and deeply chilling. She used a gas pistol to spray green dye on Chuhu's clothing and skin. Why? To make it look like a racially motivated attack. In apartheid South Africa, framing a colored man for an unprovoked attack on a white woman was not just possible, it was almost believable. Marlene was counting on the system to do the rest of the work for her. But investigators were not so easily misled. Witnesses had seen a disabled colored man near the house before the murder. Police canvassed. They matched the description, and they found Martinus Chuhu. When Chuhu was brought in, he talked, and every word he said pointed directly back to Marlene Lehnberg. The trial of Marlene Lehnberg and Martinus Chuhu opened at the Cape Town Supreme Court on the 5th of March, 1975. Hundreds of spectators fought for seats. South Africa had never seen anything quite like this. A teenage girl, a hired killer, a secret affair, a murder weapon that gave the case its name. The press called it the Scissor Murder. The state called over 30 witnesses. The trial lasted 7 days. Judge Justice Dement and his 2 assessors deliberated overnight. Their verdict, guilty, for both accused, no extenuating circumstances. The sentence, death. Marlene Lehnberg, at 19 years old, became the youngest woman in South African history to be sentenced to death. But the story was not over. 2 months later, the case was reopened on appeal. Both death sentences were reduced. Marlene received 20 years. Chuhu received 15. Marlene served 11 years in Pollsmoor Prison, the same prison that would later hold Nelson Mandela, before being released on parole in 1986. The case also left a permanent mark on South African law. What became known as the Marlene Lehnberg Clause was passed to prevent convicted criminals from profiting from their crimes. Through media deals, Martinus Chuhu was released from prison. In 1992, he died in a car accident on the N7 highway near Nouveroos in the Western Cape. Christian van der Linde, the man at the center of all of this, never recovered. After the trial, he moved to Krugersdorp to be close to his wife's grave on her family's farm in the Mahalisburg Mountains. He visited it every single day, He died in 1983. His final words on record were that he deeply regretted ever having met Marlene Lehnberg, and Marlene herself. After her release from prison, she rebuilt her life quietly. She had trained as a hairdresser while incarcerated. She married. She had children. She lived in obscurity until October 2015, 5 days before what would have been her 60th birthday. After years battling osteoporosis and a diagnosis of breast cancer, in tremendous pain and very much alone, Marlene Lehnberg took her own life. The Scissor Murderess died as she had lived in her final years, quietly and with no one watching. The Marlene Lehnberg case is many things at once. It is a story about a girl who was starved of love and found it in the wrong place. A story about what obsession does to a person when desperation takes over from reason. A story about the ripple effects of one man's selfishness. A ripple that killed an innocent woman, destroyed a family, and consumed everyone it touched. But above all, it is a reminder that evil does not always look the way we expect it to. Sometimes it looks like an 18-year-old girl, bright, intelligent, desperate to be loved, and carrying a pair of scissors. If you are new here, thank you for watching. This is what we do on this channel. True crime that happens close to home. Stories about real people whose names deserve to be remembered correctly. Subscribe. Share this with someone who loves true crime. And I will see you in the next story.